Boy helps disabled elderly man eat. Little did he know he's the father of a millionaire. Ethan was always a different kind of child. At 10 years old, while his friends played video games or ran around outside, he felt a strange need to help people who seemed lonely. It was as if he could see a sadness others couldn't. That's exactly what happened that Tuesday afternoon at Golden Year's home, a senior care facility in the Williamsburg neighborhood of New York. Ethan had gone there with his mother, Jennifer, who worked as a nurse there. While waiting in the reception area, he heard a strange noise coming from the dining room, the sound of someone struggling to eat. Curious, the boy approached the door and saw a gray-haired man sitting alone at a corner table. His hands shook so badly he couldn't lift the spoon to his mouth. Food kept falling to the floor, and the man looked increasingly frustrated and ashamed. "Sir, do you need some help?" Ethan asked, stepping closer carefully. The elderly man looked up, surprised. It had been a long time since anyone had offered to help him so willingly. "No need, son, I can manage," he replied in a shaky voice, clearly lying. Ethan pulled up a chair and sat beside him. "My name is Ethan. What's yours?" William Parker," the man said, his hands still trembling. Without asking, Ethan gently took the spoon from Mr. Williams' hands and began helping him eat. The gesture was so natural and kind that the old man couldn't resist. "Why are you doing this?" William asked, his eyes glistening. "Because you look sad. And when someone's sad and eating alone, it makes them even sadder," Ethan answered with the simplicity of a child. Those words struck William deeply. He hadn't received such tenderness in nearly 3 years, not since he'd been placed in that home. His neurological condition, which affected his movements, had worsened over time, but what hurt most was the loneliness. Ethan started visiting the home every day after school. His mother, initially worried, allowed it when she saw how much the boy brightened Mr. Williams' days. The old man, who once spent his days silent and depressed, now smiled and eagerly waited for lunchtime. "Ethan, do you have family?" William asked one afternoon. "I have my mom. My dad left when I was a baby. Never came back," the boy said as he helped the man sip soup. "And you don't feel angry at him?" "Sometimes, but my mom says some people don't know how to love right." Maybe he was scared. William fell silent for a long time. The boy's words echoed in his mind like a painful revelation. Over the next few weeks, William began sharing stories of his life with Ethan. He talked about his late wife, Margaret, who had passed away 5 years earlier. He spoke about his career as an accountant at a small firm, but he always avoided talking about his family. "Mr. William, do you have any children?" Ethan asked one day innocently. The old man's face tightened. I had a son, but his voice faltered. "Did he leave like my dad?" "No, Ethan, he didn't leave. I did something terrible." Ethan stopped feeding him and looked straight into William's eyes. "What did you do?" "I kicked him out, said horrible things, and now he must hate me." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out as we're just starting. Now back to the story. From that day on, William began opening up more. He told Ethan that his son, Daniel, had always been different. He was a sensitive boy who loved art and music, while William dreamed of him following the family tradition in accounting. "I wanted him to be like me, Ethan. I wanted him to take over my office, to be a real man." But Daniel, he had other dreams. What kind of dreams? He wanted to be a musician. He spent hours playing the piano, composing songs. He was very talented, actually, but I couldn't see it back then. Ethan kept listening attentively, his small hands still helping William eat. What happened then? When Daniel turned 18, he said he wouldn't study accounting, that he'd try to make a career in music. I was furious. I told him he was a useless dreamer, that he'd never get anywhere in life that way. William's voice began to falter. Tears streamed down his wrinkled face. He tried to explain, tried to show me his compositions, but I tore up the sheet music right in front of him. I said as long as he lived under my roof, he'd do as I said. And then? He left home that same night. He only took a suitcase with some clothes and his old keyboard. I thought he'd come back in a few days. But weeks passed, then months. William paused, breathing heavily. I was too proud to look for him. I thought I was right, that one day he'd come back apologizing. And he never came back? Not exactly. Margaret, my wife, suffered terribly over it. She begged me to find Daniel, to ask for forgiveness, but I was too stubborn. The old man began trembling more than usual. Ethan noticed and gently held his hands. It's okay, Mr. William. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I need to, my boy. I need to get this off my chest. I've carried it for so long. William took a deep breath and continued. 2 years after Daniel left, Margaret got his address. She found out he was living in a cheap boarding house downtown, working as a waiter by day and playing in bars at night. Did you go after him? Margaret did. I was still angry. She came back and said Daniel was doing fine, that he'd gotten some gigs playing at weddings and parties. She also said he'd asked about me. And you didn't want to see him? I told Margaret I'd only talk to him if he came to apologize, if he admitted he was wrong. Ethan stopped feeding him and looked seriously at William. But Mr. William, maybe you were the one who should have apologized. The simplicity of the boy's words hit William like a punch to the gut. It was exactly what Margaret had always said, but he'd never wanted to accept it. You're right, Ethan, you're right. In the days that followed, William continued his confession. He told how the years passed and pride on both sides built an ever higher wall. Margaret kept sporadic contact with Daniel, but always in secret. She'd give me updates about him now and then, said he'd gotten work at a small record label, that he was composing for other artists, that he was happy despite everything. Weren't you proud? Deep down, yes. But I couldn't admit it. My pride was stronger than my love. The turning point came when William spoke of Margaret's illness. She was diagnosed with cancer 7 years ago. The doctors said she had only a few months left. Ethan held the old man's trembling hand. That's when she begged me one last time. Said her final wish was to see father and son reconciled. That she couldn't leave knowing we were still estranged. Did you look for him? I tried. I took the address Margaret had, but when I got there, I found out Daniel had moved. No one knew where. And your wife? Margaret passed 3 months later, and I was left alone with my pride and my regret. Ethan felt a deep sadness for Mr. William. Without saying a word, he gave the elderly man a tight hug, who began to cry like a child. I lost everything, Ethan. I lost my wife. I lost my son. And why? Because of pride. Because I couldn't accept that he was different from me. But you can still look for him. How? I don't know where he is. And even if I did, after all these years, after everything that happened, do you think he would forgive me? Ethan thought for a moment, with the peculiar wisdom of children. My mum always says that a father's and son's hearts are always connected, even when they're fighting. Maybe he misses you too. Those words planted a seed of hope in William's heart, but they also deepened his anguish. What if Daniel really forgave him? What if he had been waiting all this time for an apology? The following week, something unexpected happened. Ethan's mother, Jennifer, was organizing the residents' personal papers when she found an old letter in William's room. Mr. William, I found this among your things. It seems important, she said, handing over a yellowed envelope. William immediately recognized the handwriting. It was from Daniel. It's a letter he wrote to Margaret shortly before she passed. I never had the courage to read it. Do you want me to read it? Ethan offered. With hands trembling even more than usual, William nodded. Ethan carefully opened the envelope and began to read. Dear Mum, I know you're suffering, and I know our time is running out. I want you to know I don't hold any grudges against Dad. I know he did everything thinking of my future. Maybe he was right. Maybe I should have taken a safer path. But I needed to follow my heart. I hope one day he understands. Tell him I love him despite everything. Tell him I forgive him. And if he ever wants to see me, I'll always be waiting. Your loving son, Daniel. The silence in the room was deafening. William wept uncontrollably while Ethan held his hand. He doesn't hate me. William murmured. He never did, Mr. William. Children never truly hate their parents, but the revelation that would shake William the most was yet to come. The next afternoon, Ethan arrived at the home more excited than usual. Mr. William, I have to tell you something. What is it, my boy? Remember how you said your son worked in music? Yes. My mum was reading the newspaper this morning, and there was an article about a businessman who invested in several record labels here in New York. His name is Daniel Parker. William felt the world spin. Daniel Parker was a common name, but could it be? Ethan, it must be a coincidence. Daniel is a very common name. But Mr. William, the paper said he started as a musician and now owns several companies, and that he lives in Williamsburg, really close by. William's heart raced. Williamsburg was where he had always lived. Could Daniel really be that close? Are you sure about the name? Yes, my mum even mentioned that he seems very successful. She said the article talked about how he helps young artists get contracts. William fell silent for several minutes. The possibility that his son was not only alive and well but also successful was both a joy and a torment. If it's him, Ethan, if it's really my Daniel, how much time we've lost. But you can still make up for lost time. The boy's innocence and hope contrasted with the weight of William's remorse. In the days that followed, William couldn't think of anything else. Ethan tried to cheer him up, telling school stories and making jokes, but he could see the old man was consumed by the possibility of reuniting with his son. Mr. William, why don't you ask someone to try, reaching out to him? What if it's not him? What if it is, but he doesn't want to see me? Ethan, I hurt him badly. I said terrible things. But the letter he wrote to his wife, he said he forgave you. That was years ago, my boy. People change. Maybe now he really is angry with me. Ethan noticed that William was sinking into his fears and decided to act. Without telling anyone, he asked his mother for help. Mom, can you help me find someone? Who, Ethan? It's Mr. William's son. I think he might be that businessman who was in the newspaper. Jennifer was surprised by her son's cleverness, but decided to help. She knew how sad William had been these past few days. All right, let's try to find out. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. Jennifer used her contacts and got the phone number for Daniel Parker's company. But when she called, she discovered something that intrigued her even more. Ethan, I spoke to his secretary. Daniel Parker did start out in music and is 45 years old. The age would match Mr. Williams' son. And? Did she say anything about his family? She said he's very private about his personal life, but she mentioned he always gets melancholy on Father's Day and his mother's birthday. Ethan felt they were on the right track. Mum, do you think we can arrange a meeting with him? Ethan, this is very delicate. What if he's not Mr. Williams' son? Or if he is but doesn't want to see his father? But we have to try. Mr. William is so sad. And if they are father and son, they're losing time. They could be together. The boy's determination convinced Jennifer. She decided to try a careful approach. The next day, Jennifer called Daniel's company again. This time, she asked to speak directly to him, saying it was about something very personal related to his family. Hello, answered a tired male voice. Mr. Daniel Parker. Yes, speaking. Who is this? My name is Jennifer Thompson. I work at Golden Years Home in Williamsburg. I have a bit of a strange question to ask. There was a pause on the other end. What kind of question? Do you have a father named William Parker? The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer could hear the man's heavy breathing on the other end. Why are you asking me this? Daniel's voice was choked. Because he's here at the home where I work, and he talks about you a lot. My father is he okay? Daniel asked, clearly emotional. Physically, yes. He has some mobility issues, but he's fine. Emotionally, well, he carries a lot of guilt. Can I see him? Of course, but Mr. Daniel, I need to warn you about something. Your father thinks you hate him. He's consumed by guilt. I never hated my father, Daniel said, now openly crying. Never. I always hoped he'd look for me. So you can come here? I'll be there right away. Jennifer hung up with her heart racing. Now she had to prepare William for what was coming. When she arrived at the home, she found Ethan helping William with lunch as usual. "Mr. William, I need to talk to you." "What is it, Jennifer? Did something happen?" "You need to prepare yourself. Someone is coming to visit you this afternoon." "Who?" Jennifer looked at Ethan, who understood immediately. "It's your son, Mr. William. It's Daniel." William dropped his spoon. His hands shook more than ever, but now it wasn't just because of his condition. You contacted him." "Ethan insisted so much that I decided to try. And, Mr. William, he really wants to see you. He's not angry with me. On the contrary, he said he never hated you, who had always hoped you would reach out to him." William began to sob uncontrollably. All the years of suffering, regret, and longing poured out in that moment. "Ethan, did you do this for me?" "I did because you deserve to be happy, and because fathers and sons should be together." The hours that followed were filled with unbearable anxiety for William. Ethan stayed by his side the whole time, trying to calm him. What if he changed his mind? What if when he sees me, he remembers all the anger? "Mr. William, people who feel anger don't cry when they hear about their father. He cried when my mom talked about you." "How? Do you know?" "My mom told me. She said he cried a lot when he found out you were here." At 4 in the afternoon, Jennifer appeared at the door of William's room, accompanied by a tall man with dark hair and graying temples. He wore an elegant suit, but his expression was pure vulnerability. "Dad?" Daniel said, his voice choked. William looked up and saw the man his son had become, successful, polished, but with the same sensitive eyes he had as a child. "Daniel, my boy." The two men stared at each other for long seconds, decades of hurt and longing filling the space between them. Daniel slowly approached and knelt beside his father's chair. "Dad, I missed you so much. Daniel, forgive your father. Forgive this old fool who didn't know how to love you the way he should have. You don't have to ask for forgiveness, Dad. I forgave you a long time ago." Father and son embraced, crying like children. Ethan, who had been watching from a corner, couldn't hold back his tears either. "Dad, why did you never come looking for me?" "Because I thought you hated me. I thought I had ruined everything forever. I left my address with Mom every time I moved. I always hoped you'd show up." "You did. But when I tried to find you, I couldn't." "You tried." "When?" "Right after your mother got sick. I went to the address she had, but you had moved." Daniel stopped crying and looked at his father, confused. "Dad, I never moved from that address until Mum passed. I lived there for 5 years." "But that's impossible. I went there and..." Suddenly, William remembered a detail. He had asked for Daniel Parker at the building, but the doorman said he didn't know anyone by that name. "Daniel, did you use a different name when you lived there?" "I did. Since I was pursuing an artistic career, I went by Daniel Margaret, in honor of Mum." The revelation hit like a bombshell. Father and son had lost precious years over a misunderstanding about a stage name. "You were there. You were there the whole time." "I was, Dad. And when Mum passed, I went to the funeral. I stood at the back of the church, hoping you'd see me. But you never looked back, not once." "I didn't know. Daniel, I didn't know you were there. The weight of the discovery was almost unbearable. So many years lost over so little." "Dad, it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that we're here now." Daniel looked around and saw Ethan, who had stayed discreet during the reunion. "And who is this young man?" "This is Ethan," William said proudly. He's the one who took care of me all these months, who helped me eat when my hands wouldn't obey, who listened when I needed to talk about you." Daniel turned to Ethan with endless gratitude in his eyes. "Ethan, was it you who asked my mother to call me?" "I asked her to call. I thought you and Mr. William should meet." "Why? Why did you care about a stranger?" Ethan thought for a moment. "Because when I saw Mr. William sad, I remembered my dad. And I thought maybe you two were sad for the same reason, missing each other." Daniel felt his heart tighten. The wisdom of that 10-year-old boy was astonishing. Your father? My father left me when I was a baby. He never came back. Daniel looked at William, then at Ethan. He saw in their eyes the same pain he had carried all those years. Ethan, your father made a big mistake, but maybe he, like me and my father, is waiting for someone to take the first step. Do you think he misses me? I'm sure of it. Fathers always miss their children, even when they do wrong things. In the following days, Daniel began visiting William daily. He brought photos, shared stories about his life, his career, his successes and failures. William listened with immense pride, finally getting to know the extraordinary man his son had become. Daniel, did you achieve everything you dreamed of? I achieved more than I dreamed, Dad. I own 3 record labels, represent dozens of artists, and invest in multiple businesses. And are you happy? Daniel hesitated. Professionally, yes, but personally, I always felt something was missing. Now I know what it was. What? My father's approval. The pride in your eyes. You've always had that, my son. I was just too proud to admit it. Ethan remained a key part of this reunion. He created moments for father and son to be alone, but also joined their conversations, bringing lightness and spontaneity. One afternoon, Daniel asked a question that would change everything. Dad, how would you feel about coming to live with me? Daniel, I don't want to be a burden. A burden? Dad, I have a huge empty house. I can hire the best caregivers. And most importantly, I have 27 years of lost time to make up for. William looked at Ethan. What about Ethan? Who will take care of him at lunchtime? Daniel smiled. Ethan, would you like to visit us often? I can pick you up from school every day. You can even do your homework at my place. Really? The boy's eyes sparkled. Of course. After all, you're the one who brought us back together. Now you're part of the family. Jennifer, who had been watching everything, grew concerned. Mr. Daniel, we don't want to take advantage of your kindness. Kindness? Jennifer, you gave me back my father. Ethan taught me what truly matters in life. This is the least I can do. William's move to Daniel's home was emotional. It was a mansion on the Upper East Side, with vast gardens and a breathtaking view of the city. Wow, Mr. Daniel, your house is huge, Ethan exclaimed. It was big and empty, Ethan. Now it'll be big and full of love. Daniel had hired a private nurse to care for William during the day, but insisted on helping him personally at dinner, replicating the tender gestures he'd learned from watching Ethan. Dad, remember the sheet music you tore up? Daniel, forgive me for that. It was the worst thing I ever did. I rewrote every piece. I memorized them and recreated them when I learned to read music properly. Daniel brought out a folder filled with handwritten scores. These are the songs I composed thinking of you all these years. William took the sheets with trembling hands and saw titles like A Father's Forgiveness, Homesick, and Stubborn. Love. You thought of me when you composed. Always, Dad. Every song was my way of talking to you, even from afar. In the months that followed, their lives transformed completely. Ethan gained a second family. Daniel rediscovered a son's love, and William experienced a happiness he'd thought impossible. But life still held surprises. One day, Daniel came home early and found Ethan comforting William, who was crying. What happened? Mr. William was remembering your mother. He said she'd be happy to see you together. Daniel sat beside his father. Dad, I have a surprise for you. What surprise? I managed to buy back Mom's piano, the one she played when I was a child. William's eyes widened. What? We sold that piano over 15 years ago. I spent years looking for it, finally found it. It's arriving tomorrow. The next day, when the piano was installed in the living room, William couldn't contain his emotions. Daniel sat at the instrument and began to play a soft melody. This song is for Mom and for you. It's called Eternal Family. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. As Daniel played, Ethan had an idea. Mr. Daniel, why don't you hold a concert for your father? A concert? Yes, invite friends, play the songs you composed for him. It would be beautiful. Daniel loved the idea. He organized a small, intimate concert in his living room, inviting a few close friends and co-workers. Dad, today is the day I've always dreamed of. I'll play for you, and you'll be there watching me with pride. William, dressed in his best suit, was radiant. Ethan, by his side, also dressed up for the occasion, couldn't hide his excitement. Daniel performed like never before. Each song was a declaration of love, a bridge rebuilding lost time. When he finished, applause filled the room, but the only reaction that mattered to Daniel was his father's tearful, approving gaze. "Daniel," William said, his voice trembling, "I am so proud of you." "Those are the words I've wanted to hear most in my life, Dad." But the night still held more emotions. Daniel made an announcement that surprised everyone. "I'd like to introduce two very special people. My father, William Parker, who taught me about strength and determination, even when we don't realize it, and Ethan Thompson, who taught me about generosity and unconditional love." Daniel paused, visibly moved. "Ethan, you didn't just save my father from loneliness. You saved our family. And so, I want to make you an offer." "What offer?" "I want your mother to come work as the manager of my properties, with a salary 3 times what she earns at the care home. And I want you both to move into the guest house here on the estate." Ethan looked at his mother, who stood among the guests, completely stunned. "Really?" "Absolutely, I want you close to us. You and your father have become my family." Jennifer stepped forward, still in shock. "Mr. Daniel, this is too generous." "Jennifer, your son gave me back my father. No payment in the world could ever be enough for that. But I can try to repay you by offering the stability you deserve. And can I still help Mr. William with his meals? Every day, if you'd like." The move happened 2 weeks later. Ethan got a room in the guest house but spent most of his time in the main house, caring for William and listening to Daniel's stories about his travels and business ventures. "Ethan," Daniel said one evening, "have you ever thought about what you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to help people like I helped you." "What kind of help?" "I think I want to be a doctor, to take care of sick people." "That's a noble choice, and you know what I'm going to do." "What?" "I'll set up a fund for your education. When you're ready for college, you won't have to worry about money." Ethan hugged Daniel tightly. "Thank you." "Mr. Daniel, but can I ask for one thing?" "Of course. Thursdays, when I become a doctor, I want to have a hospital for people who can't afford care." Daniel smiled, recognizing in the boy the same generous heart that had transformed their lives. "Then here's the plan. You study, become a doctor, and I'll fund your hospital." "Really? You have my word as a father." "Father? That's how I see you, Ethan. As my son in every way that matters." The following months were filled with pure happiness. William regained much of his mobility with the intensive physical therapy Daniel had arranged. Ethan thrived at the private school where Daniel enrolled him, and Jennifer flourished in her new job. But fate still had a few tricks up its sleeve. One day, Daniel came home excited. "Dad, Ethan, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" asked William. "Remember the concert we had here at home?" "Of course." "One of the guests was a TV producer. He was impressed by our story and wants to make a documentary." "A documentary? About second chances, about family, about how small gestures can change lives?" Ethan was thrilled. "Are we going to be on TV?" "If you want to, but that's not all. He wants me to share our story on shows at speaking events, and all the income I earn from it I want to use to start a foundation." "What kind of foundation?" "A foundation that connects orphaned or abandoned children with lonely seniors, so they can take care of each other, like you took care of my dad." The idea was revolutionary and moving. "We'll call it the Ethan Parker Foundation," said Daniel. "Ethan Parker?" The boy's eyes widened. "If you let me officially adopt you, that will be your real name." Ethan looked at his mother, who had tears in her eyes. "Mom, can I?" "Of course you can, my son. Daniel will be a wonderful father to you." "And what about you, Daniel? Can I call you Dad?" "I'd be honored, son." William watched it all with a huge smile on his face. "Do you know what this means?" "Ethan? What, Grandpa William? You'll be my real grandson now." The adoption was processed quickly. Daniel used all his influence to speed up the process, and within 3 months, Ethan Thompson officially became Ethan Parker. "Now we're a real family," Daniel said on the day of the ceremony. "We always were," Ethan replied. "Family isn't just about blood, it's about heart." The documentary about their lives was released 6 months later and became a national sensation. The story of a boy who saved a family touched millions of hearts. Daniel began traveling across the country, sharing his story and raising funds for the foundation. Within 2 years, over 1,000 children had been connected with lonely seniors. "Dad," said Ethan, now 12, "I think I've found my true calling." "What is it?" "I want to work at the foundation. Help other kids and grandpas find each other." "What about medicine?" "I can study medicine to take better care of the seniors at the foundation." Daniel smiled, proud of his son's maturity. "You know what we're going to do? We'll expand the foundation. Start a medical school focused on social geriatrics." "What's that?" "Doctors specialized in caring for abandoned seniors, and the first class will be fully funded by us." The project grew exponentially. In 5 years, the Ethan Parker Foundation became a national model for intergenerational connection. Daniel, now 50, had found his true purpose in life. William, at 80, had become the official grandpa for all the kids at the foundation. His motor skills had improved significantly, and he helped train other seniors on how to receive affection from children. "Grandpa William," an 8-year-old girl said during a visit to the foundation, "why are you always smiling?" "Because I learned it's never too late to be happy, my dear. And love always finds a way back home." Ethan, now a 15-year-old teenager, had grown into an exceptional young man. Besides excelling in school, he spent every afternoon at the foundation, helping integrate children and seniors. "Dad," he said to Daniel one Sunday afternoon, "I have an idea." "Go ahead, son." "What if we created an exchange program? Children from other countries could come here to learn about elderly care, and our young people could teach elsewhere." "Ethan, you're only 15 and already think like a social entrepreneur." "I learned from the best." Daniel hugged his son, feeling immense pride. William, who was listening to the conversation from his armchair nearby, smiled serenely. "Daniel," the elderly man said, "do you remember what you told me at the hospital when Ethan was born?" Daniel paused, confused. "Dad, what hospital? Ethan isn't my biological son." "Oh, that's right," William chuckled. "Sometimes I forget. He's so much like you when you were a child that I get mixed up." "Like me how?" "The same kindness, the same determination to help others, the same stubbornness too." "Stubbornness? You didn't give up on helping me even when I resisted. Remember?" Daniel laughed, recalling the difficult early days of their reconciliation. "And Ethan didn't give up on either of us, even when it seemed impossible." That night, Daniel reflected deeply on life's paths. 7 years earlier, he had been a successful but emotionally empty businessman. Now he had a complete family and a purpose that impacted thousands of lives. "Son," he called to Ethan, who was doing homework at the living room table. "Yes, Dad?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For teaching me that true wealth is having someone to love and someone who loves you back." "Dad, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course. That first day I saw Grandpa William, I didn't help him just out of pity. No. I helped him because he reminded me of how I felt when I was alone, before I had a real family." Daniel's heart tightened. "What do you mean, son?" "When it was just Mom and me, I always felt incomplete, like someone was missing. When I saw Grandpa William alone, I thought, he must be feeling the same way I did. And now? Now I don't feel that way anymore. I have a dad, a grandpa, a mom. I have a complete family." Daniel hugged Ethan tightly, realizing the boy had found in them the same wholeness they had found in him. The following years brought even more achievements. The Ethan Parker Foundation expanded to 15 states. Ethan, now in medical school, specialized in geriatrics as he had dreamed. William, at 85, had become a national celebrity. He wrote a book titled It's Never Too Late to Love, which became a bestseller. "Grandpa," said Ethan now, a young man of 20, "do you regret anything?" "I regret losing so many years with your father, but I don't regret everything I lived through because it brought me to you. Even the sad years, especially the sad years, they taught me to cherish the happiness I have today." Daniel, now 55, had become a national reference in corporate social responsibility. His businesses thrived, but his true passion lay in the foundation. "Dad," Ethan said one morning, "I have a surprise for you." "What surprise?" "I got my first placement as a doctor. I'll be working at Memorial Hospital in the geriatrics department." "Congratulations, son, I'm so proud. But that's not all. They want to create a pilot program for social medicine, doctors who visit abandoned seniors in homes and institutions." "And you'll lead it?" "Yes, and I want the foundation to be our official partner." Daniel smiled, seeing the circle complete. Ethan was becoming not just a doctor, but an agent of social change. "Son, there's something I never told you." "What?" "Back when I was young and fought with your grandfather, I thought success was just about money and professional recognition. And now? Now I know success is looking back and seeing that your life made a difference in others' lives." "Dad, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. Did you never want to get married, have other children?" Daniel thought for a moment. "I've considered that a few times, but whenever I think about the possibility, I think of you and your grandfather, and I realize my family is already complete. But Dad, you're still young, so you could find someone special. Ethan, when you find the love of your life, you'll understand something. Sometimes love comes in the most unexpected way. You and your grandfather are the loves of my life. You filled every empty space in my heart." At the end of that year, the Ethan Parker Foundation received the award for the best social organization in the country. During the award ceremony, Daniel took the stage accompanied by William and Ethan. "When I started this project," Daniel said into the microphone, "I thought I was helping underprivileged children and seniors. Today, I know the one who was helped the most was me. I learned that family isn't just those we're born with, but those we choose to share our lives with." He looked at William and Ethan beside him. "These two people taught me it's never too late to start over. That small gestures can change destinies, and that true love always finds a way to reach us." The audience rose in prolonged applause. But for Daniel, the most special moment was seeing William whisper into Ethan's ear, "Your father is right. You two saved my life." After the ceremony, the family returned home in thoughtful silence. "Dad," Ethan said when they arrived, Can I ask you something?" "Always, son." "Do you think my biological father regrets abandoning me?" Daniel stopped, surprised by the question. "Why are you thinking about this now?" "I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks about me, if he ever wonders how I'm doing." William, listening from his armchair, spoke up. "Ethan, your biological father missed the chance to know an extraordinary young man. The loss was his, not yours." "But Grandpa, I don't feel angry at him. Just curious." Daniel sat beside his son. "Ethan, if you ever want to look for him, I'll support you completely. But I want you to know one thing. No matter what you find out about him, you'll always be my son. Nothing will change that." "Dad, I don't want to find him to have another father. I already have the best father in the world. I just want to forgive him, like Grandpa William taught me." "What do you mean?" "Grandpa William taught me that holding on to resentment only hurts the one who holds it. Maybe my biological father has been suffering all these years, feeling guilty." Daniel looked at William with admiration. The older man had truly become wise. "If that's what you want, we'll look for him together." "Really?" "Of course, but on one condition." "What?" "If we find him, we'll make it clear we're not asking anything from him, just offering forgiveness and peace." The search for Ethan's biological father took 6 months. Daniel hired private investigators who finally located Michael Thompson, a 45-year-old mechanic working in a small town in Pennsylvania. "Does he have other children?" Ethan asked when they received the report. "No, he lives alone. Never married. Dad, I think he's been suffering too. Daniel arranged everything carefully. First, he sent a letter to Michael, explaining who he was and that Ethan would like to meet him. The reply came 2 weeks later. Mr. Daniel, I don't deserve to meet my son. I was a coward who abandoned an innocent child. But if Ethan wants to see me, I'll be waiting. Michael. He wants to meet us, Daniel said, showing the letter. Dad, can I ask Grandpa William to come with us? Why? Because he understands better than anyone about asking for forgiveness and receiving it. The trip to Pennsylvania was quiet. Ethan was nervous, Daniel was worried, and William was serene, as always. My grandson, William said during the trip. Are you sure you want to do this? I am, Grandpa. I learned from you that forgiveness sets the one who forgives free. When they arrived at the auto repair shop, they found a tall, thin man with features similar to Ethan's. Michael was visibly nervous. Ethan, he said, his voice choked. Hi, Dad. Michael began to cry immediately. I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry for being a coward. I'm sorry for abandoning you. You don't have to apologize. I came here to forgive you. Why? Why would you forgive someone who abandoned you? Ethan looked at William, who nodded encouragingly. Because I've learned that forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves, and because I want you to know I've become a happy person, despite everything. Michael listened in silence as Ethan told his story, speaking about Daniel, about William, about the foundation, about his dreams. You became a doctor. I'm about to graduate, and I'll work helping seniors like my grandfather here. Michael looked at William with gratitude. Thank you for taking better care of my son than I could. I didn't do better, William said gently. I just stepped in when I could. Maybe you weren't in a position to back then. I really wasn't. I was too young, too scared. I thought I was doing what was best for him. And maybe you were, Daniel said. If you hadn't made that decision, Ethan might never have come to us. Michael looked at Daniel in surprise. Fierce, you don't resent me. On the contrary, I'm grateful. You gave me the most precious gift of my life. The next few hours were filled with deep conversation. Michael shared all the years of regret, how he'd thought of Ethan every day, how he'd been afraid to reach out and discover he'd ruined his life. Dad Michael, Ethan said. He'd decided to call him that. I want you to know you didn't ruin my life. You gave me to people who could love me the way I deserved. Ethan, you could really forgive me? I already have. As a child, as a teenager, as an adult, I've always forgiven you. Michael hugged the son he'd abandoned 20 years earlier, and both cried tears of release. Michael, Daniel said, I'd like to extend an invitation. What invitation? Visit us whenever you'd like. Our home will always have a place for you. You're part of Ethan's family, so you're part of ours. I can? Of course, family isn't just who raises you, it's also who brought you into this world with love, even if they couldn't stay. The trip back to New York was completely different from the way there. Ethan was radiant, Daniel at peace, and William satisfied to have witnessed another reunion. Grandpa, Ethan said, do you think I did the right thing? You did more than right, my grandson. You followed your heart. And the heart never makes a mistake when it chooses forgiveness. In the following months, Michael began visiting the family regularly. It was strange at first, but gradually he found his place in that unique family circle. Daniel, Michael, said during one of these visits, how can I thank you for raising my son? You don't have to thank me. I'm the one who's grateful to you for giving me the chance to be a father. But I want to contribute somehow. You really do. I do. Then work with us at the foundation. We need someone who understands second chances. Michael accepted immediately. He moved to New York and began coordinating a new program at the foundation, Family Reconnection. Dad Michael, Ethan said on his first day of work, you're going to help other families reunite like we did. That's exactly what I want to do, son. I want to prevent other children and parents from losing as much time as we did. The program was an immediate success. Michael, with his personal experience of regret and redemption, could speak to other parents who'd abandoned their children in a way no one else could. Michael, said Daniel after 6 months of the program, you've saved 17 families so far. I didn't save them, Daniel. I just showed them the path you all showed me. Ethan, now a medical school graduate, had begun his work at Memorial Hospital. His visiting program for the elderly was revolutionizing geriatric care in the city. Dr. Ethan, said a nurse, you have a special way with elderly patients. I learned from the best teacher, he replied, thinking of William. One afternoon, Ethan came home with special news. Dad, Grandpa, Dad Michael, I have a surprise for you. What surprise? The three asked in unison. I've been invited to give a lecture at Princeton University about social medicine and intergenerational connections. Ethan, exclaimed Daniel, that's fantastic, but I'm not going alone. What do you mean? I want to take all 3 of you with me. The lecture will be about our family, about how small gestures can change worlds. The trip to Princeton was unforgettable. William, at 87, had never left the country. Michael was nervous but proud. Daniel beamed at his son's success. Son, Michael said on the plane, are you sure you want to include me in your lecture? Absolutely. Our story isn't complete without you. The lecture was a tremendous success. Ethan told the full story of their family, from his first meeting with William to reuniting with Michael. The audience sat in emotional silence. This story teaches us, Ethan concluded, that family is built every day through small acts of love, that it's never too late to ask for forgiveness, to offer forgiveness, to start anew. At the end, the standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. William, Daniel, and Michael sat in the front row, tears of pride in their eyes. Dr. Parker, a professor, asked, what's the greatest lesson from your story? Ethan looked at the 3 men who shaped his life. That true love always multiplies. When my mother taught me to love, I could love my grandfather. When my grandfather taught me about forgiveness, I could love my father Daniel. When my father Daniel taught me about generosity, I could forgive my father Michael. And now all of us together are multiplying that love through the foundation. And what's your advice for young people who want to make a difference in the world? Start small. Sometimes helping one person eat is the first step to changing many lives. After the lecture, the family dined at an elegant restaurant in Chicago. Dad, Ethan said to Daniel, may I make a toast? Of course, son. Ethan raised his glass. 10 years ago, I was just a boy who wanted to help a sad old man eat. Today, we're a family of 4 generations, with a foundation impacting thousands of lives, to the power of small gestures and the courage to love without fear. 2 small gestures, the 3 echoed. William, the eldest, asked to speak. My children, I've lived 87 years. I've made many mistakes, endured many sorrows, but I can say the 10 years I've spent with you have been the happiest of my life. Thank you for teaching me it's never too late to be loved and to love. Michael spoke next. I spent 20 years punishing myself for a decision I made when I was young. You taught me the past doesn't define the future, that there's always a chance to start over. Daniel was last. I was professionally successful but emotionally bankrupt. You gave me purpose, love, and family. Every day I'm grateful Ethan chose to help my father that day at lunch. Actually, Ethan said with a smile, I think Grandpa, William helped me first. He taught me that receiving care with dignity is just as important as giving care with love. Their return to the United States was marked by a surprise. At the airport, dozens of young people from the foundation were waiting with signs that read, Welcome National Heroes. Ethan, they shouted in unison, you represented the United States. No, Ethan replied emotionally, we represented the United States. Everyone who chooses love over resentment. In the following months, the Parker family's story spread across the country. Television shows, newspapers, magazines, everyone wanted to tell the story of the family built through kindness. Dad, Ethan said to Daniel, I'm worried about all this attention. Why? I'm afraid people will think we're special. Our story isn't special. Anyone could do what we did. That's exactly why our story needs to be told, son. To show that everyone can be special. The Ethan Parker Foundation received donations from all over the country. Within 2 years, they expanded to every state in the US and began operations in 3 South American countries. Dr. Ethan, said the director of a senior home in Boston, Since we implemented the program here, our seniors are happier and our young volunteers are more responsible. That's what happens when we connect people who need each other, Ethan replied. William, now 89, had become the symbol of the foundation. His photo, smiling beside a child, was on posters across the nation. Grandpa, Ethan said, you've become a national icon. Me? William laughed. I'm just an old man lucky enough to find a special grandson. No, Grandpa, you're proof it's never too late to be happy. The Foundation's 10th anniversary celebration was unforgettable. Thousands gathered at Madison Square Garden to hear stories of families formed through the program. A decade ago, Daniel said in his keynote speech, a 10-year-old boy decided to help an elderly man eat. Today we have over 5,000 pairs of children and seniors across the country. Dad, Ethan whispered, remember what you said on the first day? That family isn't just who we're born with. I remember. Look around. We have 5,000 families who chose each other. Daniel gazed at the crowd in the stadium, moved. Children and seniors side by side, biological and chosen families, people who had found in each other the love they sought. Ethan said, Michael standing beside him, are you proud of what we've built? I am, Dad, Michael, but you know what I'm proudest of? What? That it all started with a simple act, helping someone eat. William, seated in a wheelchair decorated for the occasion, listened with a serene smile. My grandson, he said to Ethan, do you remember the first time you helped me? I remember everything, Grandpa. You asked why I was sad. I never told you the real reason. What was it? I was sad because I thought my life had been wasted, that I hadn't been good for anything. And now? Now I know my life served one very important purpose, preparing me to receive your love. Ethan hugged his grandfather, feeling that moment captured everything they had lived through together. The celebration lasted late into the night. When they finally returned home, the four men sat in the living room, exhausted, but happy. Dad, Ethan said to Daniel, I have a confession. What confession? Today, during the celebration, a reporter asked me what my biggest dream was, and I didn't know how to answer. Why? Because I've already achieved my biggest dream. I have a family who loves me and whom I love. I have work that changes lives. I have friends, health, purpose. Daniel smiled. So what did you tell the reporter? I said my dream now is to help others achieve theirs. That's a good answer. Dad, can I ask you something? Always. Do you regret anything in life? Daniel thought for a long moment. I regret taking so long to forgive my father, losing precious years because of pride. Anything else? I regret not reaching out to you sooner. I wonder how many other special children are out there, waiting for someone to adopt them with love. Michael spoke up. I regret abandoning Ethan, but I don't regret it anymore, because I've learned that sometimes our mistakes lead us where we need to be. What about you, Grandpa? Ethan asked William. I regret being so stubborn, but I'm grateful I lived long enough to see you all grow into extraordinary men. Grandpa, don't you have any other regrets? Just one. What is it? I regret not getting to know your mother better. Jennifer raised a wonderful son, and I wish I'd known her when you were little. Ethan smiled. Jennifer, now 50, had become one of the most respected administrators in Daniel's business. She was also at the party, proud of her son and the family they'd built. Grandpa, Mom always says you're the father she dreamed of for me. Really? Yes. She says I was lucky to have 3 fathers, the one who gave me life, the one who raised me, and the one who taught me wisdom. William was moved. Ethan, do you know what you mean to me? What? You're proof that God always has a plan. Even when we don't understand, even when we suffer, there's always a greater purpose. Grandpa, do you believe everything happened for a reason? I believe it all happened to bring us to each other. That night, each went to their room with a heart full of gratitude. Ethan wrote in his personal journal, Today I turned 22. 12 years ago, I helped an old man eat without imagining he'd change my life forever. Today, we're a family of 4 men who chose each other, a foundation impacting thousands of lives, and a story inspiring the entire country. If I could go back, I'd do it all exactly the same. Love always finds its way to us. Daniel, in his room, reflected on the journey that had brought them there. From a lonely businessman to patriarch of an extraordinary family. From a resentful son to a loving father. From a man focused solely on personal success to someone dedicated to the greater good. Michael thought about how life can surprise you. 20 years of guilt and regret had turned into purpose and redemption. He now coordinated the Foundation's most successful program and had helped hundreds of families reconcile. William, the eldest, fell asleep with a smile on his face. At 89, he was loved by thousands he'd never even met. He'd become a symbol of wisdom, resilience, and the power of love. The next day, a surprise awaited the family. The mayor of New York had decided to name Ethan an honorary citizen of the city. "Dr. Ethan Parker," the mayor said at the ceremony, "in recognition of your service to the community and for making New York a more compassionate and welcoming city." "Mr. Mayor," Ethan replied, "I accept this honor on behalf of all the children and seniors who are part of the foundation. They are the true honorary citizens." After the ceremony, the family went to lunch at a special restaurant, the same place where Daniel had taken Ethan to celebrate his first good grade at private school. "Dad," Ethan said, "remember when we first came here? How could I forget? You were 10 and amazed by the size of the burger. And now I'm amazed by the size of our family." Daniel laughed. "Ethan, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course. That day when I brought you here, I thought, I hope one day this boy sees me as a real father. And I thought, I hope one day this man sees me as a true son. I think we both got what we wanted." Michael, who was listening to the conversation, chimed in. "Do you know what I thought the first time I came here with you?" "What?" "I thought, these men gave me a second chance I didn't deserve." "Dad, Michael," said Ethan, "everyone deserves a second chance. Not everyone knows how to make the most of it when it comes," William replied wisely. The lunch was interrupted by an important phone call. It was from the United Nations. "Dr. Parker?" said the voice on the other end. "Yes? I'm from the UN's Social Programs Division. We'd like to invite you to replicate the Ethan Parker Foundation for African refugees." Ethan nearly dropped the phone. "What do you mean?" "We have refugee camps with many orphaned children and elderly people left alone. We want to implement your intergenerational connection program. It would be an honor. Would you be available to travel to Tanzania next month?" Ethan looked at the three men watching him anxiously. "Can I bring my family?" "Your family?" "My father, my grandfather, and, well, it's a long story." The woman laughed on the other end. "Dr. Parker, we've read about your family. Of course you can all come." When Ethan hung up, the table was completely silent. "We're going to Africa?" William asked, incredulous. "If you all want to, but Grandpa, it'll be a tiring trip." "Ethan," William interrupted, "I'm 89 years old. How many chances will I get to help African children?" Daniel laughed. "Dad, you're willing to go to Africa? I'm willing to go wherever my family goes." The trip to Tanzania was carefully planned. William needed special medical supervision, but insisted on going. "Hi, Grandpa," Ethan said on the plane. "Why were you so determined to come?" "Because I want to see our work spread across the world. I want to see African children caring for African elders, just like you cared for me." When they arrived at the refugee camp, the reality was more heartbreaking than they'd imagined. Hundreds of orphaned children, dozens of abandoned elders, all surviving in dire conditions. "Ethan," said Daniel, "how will we adapt our program to this reality?" "The same way we started, Dad. One child, one elder, one meal at a time." The work in Tanzania lasted 3 months. Ethan trained local caregivers, Daniel organized the administrative structure, Michael coordinated family activities, and William became the grandfather of every child in the camp. "Grandpa William," said a little 6-year-old girl in broken English, "are you my American grandpa?" "I am, sweetheart, and you're my Tanzanian granddaughter." By the end of the mission, they had connected 200 children with 200 elders. The program would be locally coordinated, but supervised by the Ethan Parker Foundation. "Dr. Ethan," said the UN coordinator, "this was the most successful social program we've ever implemented here. That's because it works with The heart, not just the mind. Back in the United States, the family was transformed by the experience. "Dad," Ethan said, "I think I've found my next mission." "What is it?" "I want to expand the foundation internationally. There are millions of children and elders around the world who need each other." "And I," said Daniel, "want to fund that expansion." "And I," said Michael, "want to coordinate the international operations." "And I," said William, "want to live long enough to see it happen." Everyone laughed at the old man's determination. "Grandpa," Ethan said, "you'll live to be 100. If it means seeing our work spread across the world, I'll live to be 100. And 10. The end. Tell us what you thought of this heartwarming story. Do you believe small gestures can truly transform lives like they did for Ethan and his family? Leave your comment with your honest thoughts about this journey of love, forgiveness, and resilience. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.